Hey guys, my name is Matt Abrams, and I'm glad to welcome all of you guys to today's special edition of Spotlight News. In today's broadcast, we'll be discussing Western Europe and Canada. Now, the three main topics that will be discussed in today's broadcast include the European Union, unemployment in Western Europe, and the French presidential election. Now, some of the main background information for you guys would include the countries are Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland, and the UK. Now, the population as of 2012 is 397,475,574. Now, some of the culture that surrounds Western Europe includes Celts, which are North France and UK, Germans, which are Saxons and Franks, and Vikings, which are Scandinavia and UK. Now, some of the religion that surrounds Western Europe are Eastern Orthodox, Protestant, Roman Catholic, Judaism, and Islam. Now, the death rate currently in Western Europe is the UK has the highest infant death rate, and for the birth rate, it is in great decline, and the population is expected to decrease in the next 50 years. And as for the literacy rate, in Western Europe, it is about 95 to 100%. Now, some of the political issues surrounding Western Europe are the troubled Eurozone fringe, fundamental challenges, social unrest, election and government tensions, and outside risks. And as for economic issues, unemployment is a huge economic issue, as we'll get to that later in today's broadcast, financial crisis, and 15 nations are soon to have a unified currency, which in Western Europe is known as the euro. And that goes it based for background information. And I just got word in that we're currently going to Jamie back. She'll be discussing the European Union. Jamie.
Hi, my name is Jamie Back, and I'm reporting live to you about the EU from Luxembourg, right outside of the EU's main office where they are currently holding meetings. For those of you who do not know a lot about the EU is a group of countries in Europe whose governments work together to improve living conditions for the people, businesses, and overall their economies. It is composed of Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. The EU has agreed to come up with strict new rules for banks in order to make them safer and eliminate the need for future bailouts, which is an act of giving financial assistance. The new rules meet the standards agreed by the G20, which is a group of finance ministers and central bank governors from the 20 major economies, including the US, Canada, Australia, India, Russia, Japan, and so on. The new rules will be going before the European Parliament and is expected to come into effect this month. The UK Chancellor George Osborne says this decision will help strengthen the entire European banking system, and adding on, the leaders of the European Union have been meeting as they go over the region's debt crisis, along with going through the concern that Greece may have to leave the Eurozone. The World Bank has warned that the Eurozone crisis may also harm the growth of East Asian economies, and that East Asian countries will need to boost domestic demands to rebalance their economies and sustain growth. As the debt crisis continues to be a problem in the EU, it is predicted that the Eurozone economy will shrink this year. There is a prediction of zero growth for 2012 and 1.3% next year in the EU. European Commissioner for Economic and Monetary Affairs Olli Rehn says a recovery is in sight for the Eurozone, however that the economic situation still remains fragile. And I'm Jamie Back reporting live to you about the EU, and back to you, Matt.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spotlight News. If you guys are just tuning in, I would love to update you guys on what happened on the first portion of our show. Jamie Back did fantastic and talked and described about the EU. And before Simi talks about unemployment in Western Europe, who is going to do an excellent job, I would love for your viewing pleasure to listen to me sing Right Round by Flo Rida. Here we go. You spin my head right round when you go down, down. You spin my head right round when you go down, down. Going to you, Simi.
Hi, I'm Simi from Spotlight News, reporting here from the UK where recent discussions about the current unemployment situation have been taking place. Not long ago, the official figures show that the French unemployment had hit 10% in the first quarter of 2012. In Western Europe, the economy has been struggling with the impact of the tough austerity measures, which have included tax rises and spending cuts. The unemployment rate overall is now above 20%. The unemployment rate in the Eurozone was at 11% in both March and April, which have been the highest records since the records first began in 1995. According to the Eurostat, of all the countries in the Eurozone, Spain has the highest rate at 24.3% and Austria had the lowest at only 3.9%. The total number of people that were unemployed in April was around 17.4 million, rising from 17.3 million. The recession in the labour market is continuing to grow and spread, which is affecting not just Western Europe but the whole world. France, being one of the countries with the biggest unemployment problems, as well as Italy, had their unemployment rate go from 10.1% to 10.2% just recently in March. Although most of the countries have been struggling with the increasing rate of unemployment, Germany has had a decrease in the rate from 5.5% to 5.4%, also in March. Not only that, but recent studies have shown that female unemployment in Wales is at a record high after a year, when it rose faster than it did among men. The government is trying many different things to try and fix the unemployment problems. One of these is universal credits, which would provide new incentives to help younger people get into work. It has been said that the population capable of gainful employment between the ages of 15 to 64 reached an approximate peak of 331 million in 2010, but is predicted to drop by 268 million by the year 2050. With the rate of unemployment increasing, many companies and businesses have been demanding higher qualifications, especially for newly created jobs. In the future, employees will be entrusted with more responsibilities across all levels of qualification. The government and the leaders of the EU are working at fixing this problem, and hopefully the economy will stabilize in the near future. Back to you.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spotlight News. For those of you who are just tuning into our show, I would love to update you guys on what just happened. Simi just did a fantastic job on talking and describing about unemployment in Western Europe, and Ian is soon to do an excellent job on describing the French presidential election. However, before this happens, I would love to explain a little more about Western Europe. Sorry guys, give me 1 second, I have to answer this call. It's actually John Stevens from Mr. Johnson's first period class, so... Hello John, what's up bud? Nothing much, dude. What are you up to? You have to ask me an enormous question? Alright, go for it. What do I think of hashtag YOLO? Well, I mean, I know it means you only live once, and by the time you're off this call, you might only live once. So before I do something I shouldn't do, here's Ian Warren about the French presidential election. Take it away, Ian.
This is Ian reporting from Spotlight News. We are here in France reporting on the French presidential election. Francois Hollande has just defeated Nicolas Sarkozy in a runoff election, becoming the first socialist to win a presidential election since Francois Mitterrand in 1988. The socialist leader won just under 52% of the votes in a runoff. Francois is starting to work on forming a new government after telling his supporters his victory gave hope of an end to austerity. Austerity is a policy of deficit cutting by lowering spending, often via a reduction in the amount of benefits and public services provided by the government. He is also responsible for major implications in Europe as it struggles to emerge from a financial crisis, and for France. This election revealed an enormous intent with the austerity policies carried out by Sarkozy's Union for a Popular Majority. However, this discontent can no longer progress as an expression because any independent leftward movement of the working class is blocked by the Socialist Party. Under these conditions, the most reactionary forces in the political establishment are able to pose as anti-establishment and anti-austerity and divert popular anger behind anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim racism and rabid French nationalism. Mr. Holland has vowed to rework a deal with government debt in the Eurozone and focus more on the promotion of growth. In an often bitter presidential campaign, Holland has promised to hire more staff to boost France's state education system and reduce their retirement age from 62 to 60 for people who have completed a minimum of 41 years of work. He has also pledged to raise taxes on the wealthy and balance the country's budget by 2017. This has been Ian with Spotlight News. Back to you, Matt.
Hey guys, welcome back to this final segment of Spotlight News. For those of you who just missed it, Ian Warren did an excellent job in describing the French presidential election. Now I'm just going to summarize each of the three main topics discussed today, starting with Jamie Back's European Union. She talked about how the debt crisis is going on in the EU and how they are coming up with plans to try to prevent issues like the debt crisis from happening. Now Simi talked about unemployment, and she came up to this conclusion. With more and more people out of jobs, the economy is really suffering. The high unemployment rates are impacting not just Western Europe, but the entire world. The population of Western Europe has been dealing with drastic measures such as tax raises and spending cuts in order to restore the economy. Many companies and businesses have been using the unemployment by demanding higher and higher qualifications, and hopefully government experts are working on plans to differently help out and stabilize the economy in the near future. Now, Ian Warren did an excellent job and summarized this in the French presidential election. Francois Hollande defeated President Nicolas Sarkozy, becoming the first ever socialist elected president since Francois Mitterrand. Now the burning million-dollar question is, how is Western Europe doing in today's economy, going against the U.S. and Eastern Europe and Russia and the CIS? And the answer is this. One great way to start a bar fight during an economic association conference is to claim the U.S. economy is preferably to Europe's. Someone will undoubtedly start crawling about the GDP per capita. Does it measure a person's happiness? Somebody else may point out that if you look at that income inequality and entitlements, the average European is doing much better than an American. But GDP per capita, an insufficient indicator, but one of the most economists use, in the U.S. is nearly 50% higher in Europe. Even Europe's best performing large country, Germany, is about 20% poorer than the U.S. on a person basis. And both countries have roughly 15% of their population living below the poverty line. While Norway and Sweden are richer than the U.S., on average, they are more comparable to wealthy American microeconomies, like Washington, D.C. or parts of Connecticut, both of which are actually considerably wealthier. And a reporter in Greece once complained after I compared our country to Mississippi, America's poorest state. She's right, the comparison isn't fair. The average Mississippian is richer than an average Greek. Are you kidding me? Europe is undergoing not only one but two simultaneously economic crisis. The first is rapid, obvious one. It's all about the sovereign debt, a collapsing currency and austerity measures that we hear about all the time. The second is insidious, but important. After decades of tying Europe as a whole, they can't figure out how flexible it is to compare in the global economy. And that shows you how Western Europe's doing. It's not doing that great, it's doing okay. And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today's broadcast of Spotlight News. And I'd like to thank Jamie, Ian, and Simi, and Mr. Johnson. And I'm signing off, Matt Abrams, Spotlight News.